not sure. There's way too many.
Yeah. When did Andre Roberson leave? When did he? Because like I saw he got signed by the Blue yesterday, which is I don't understand how that happened. Or they traded for him. Like, where is Andre Roberson? Where has he been?
I don't know where he's been.
Man, those were good times. Andre Roberson just hanging out in the corner on title teams and just hoping for a prayer. Has Giannis been any different than the last 2 years? Because it was interesting to see like around the league what people wanted to do for their first team All-Stars, and most were leaving Giannis out of their first team this year. And I wondered how much of those people were actually watching Giannis night in, night out. As someone who is watching Giannis night in, night out, do you think he has been? I don't want to say worse because it's like he's still an MVP level player. It's like I hate using the word worse with him, but like, is he doing anything differently this year, or is it just Joel Embiid is playing at another level? Kevin Durant, when we saw these playing at another level, like what is real with Giannis this year as opposed to the last two?
Yeah, I mean, I think one, people have just gotten tired of him to a certain extent because it's like you say. I mean, people. You hear all the talk, and I think, I listen to the Lowe post a lot, and I love Zach Lowe, but every time Giannis comes up in like the little MVP or All-Star, it's like, the efficiency's really down and everything else. And it's like 32, 12, and 5, and the Bucks have been one of the best 5 teams in the league all season. Like, it's kind of ridiculous just to hand wave that away, and its efficiency is lower. I think it's a couple conflating things. One is, again, as I mentioned, all the time without Khris and Jrue, and it just made life really hard for him. The Bucks perimeter players that were available just really weren't up to par, and the teams were able to do the old build a wall, as my co-host Rohan Kadi prefers me to say, build a barrier. The wall term scarred him, but the paint's just full, and so of course his shooting percentages went down a little bit around the rim because he's got to go through 4-3 guys every single time. In a way that when Khris and Jrue and now Joe Ingles, who's been great and opening things up on the outside, and Pat Connaughton missed a bunch of games to start the year too, when those guys are healthy and playing well and hitting shots, defenses can't really do that. You can't afford to just totally ignore the rest of the court like earlier this season they were, when it was, some other players for the Bucks out there who maybe aren't as terrifying to you. If, Javon Carter's had a nice season. He kind of had to be their starting point guard for a while. That's asking a lot of him. That's not really his skill set on a contending team. So I think that goes into it. And also a little bit of variance. He shot mid-rangers especially well last season and really did not to start the year. And I think that percentage is coming up. He's on a little bit of a three-point barrage lately, which means he's like, 2 for 4, 3 games in a row, and everyone gets excited. I'm not buying in that he's like a sniper yet, but, the shot has looked good and he's stepping into him more, which is nice. But I think his jumper is coming around. But it was really just really cold stretch to start the season. And I don't know if that was, just kind of random variance, which we see with shooters, especially ones who aren't elite shooters, or whether that was, Giannis didn't get a full summer off either because he went to play with Greece and Eurobasket and all the other work he had to do to kind of carry the team. And, he had a lot of games in the high 30s and 40s, really dragging the Bucks to those point totals early on. So, yeah, I think he had to work harder than usual with the Bucks. I think he got it done, and the team's record is kind of a testament to that. And, yeah, I thought it was a little silly how quickly it's like, we don't even have to talk about him in our MVP segment because his true shooting is down 8 points or whatever, and he's going to come off the bench in the All-Star.
They're nitpicking with Giannis. Like, everyone's nitpicking.
That's what frustrated me because I felt like you listen to other guys' MVP cases, and it's like, why should this guy be MVP? And you get to Giannis, and it's like, what are the reasons we shouldn't even talk about Giannis here? And it's like, how about you look for the reasons he should be? How about scoring the most he's ever scored? How about, who hasn't been there for him? You look at Jokic's first MVP, was it? When it was like, oh man, he really dragged that team. That's what Giannis is doing now. And I'm not even saying he should win MVP. Like, I think Jokic has a great case. I think Embiid, whoever else.
There's no chance they give a third one to Jokic. No way.
The Embiid game, honestly, I think before then he was the guy I thought was going to win it. Right now, I do think it's kind of like, is Tatum going to make a surge? Maybe. He was great in his last game.
I wouldn't cut out Luka. Luka is still just sitting there because I think if they trade Christian Woods, where it seems like that's where they're going, and they're going to move Dorian Finney-Smith maybe too. Like, I still think the Mavs are winning the West, so I think if he can still get around that 3rd, 4th seed zone, which
that's going to be tough though. I don't see. I'm a little worried. I think they keep putting it out there through some folks around the team, like they would trade those guys in the right deal, and I think would before DFS. But I think they're kind of thinking like, let's just get through this year, and then like I'm saying for the Bucks in 24, we can make our bigger splash in the offseason. So if they make a move and get better, I could see that. Right now, though, I just look at their team and I'm like, it's going to be hard for them to finish high enough for Luka to win. As great as he has played, that's going to be what it comes down to for him.
Yeah. I also think I thought it was kind of funny. We thought like Embiid missed his moment, right? Where it was like not this year for Embiid to win MVP. Then I don't know if he'll ever have enough juice or healthy enough for a full run. Yeah. And then this year, you're like, I mean, if it's not this year, what are you actually going to give Joel Embiid an MVP? Is he going to go through his whole prime without one? That seems wild. Yeah. I don't know. He's another dark horse. I think if the Sixers finish second in the East and they keep this trend going, then I mean, you could definitely see that too.
I think if any of the Bucks, Sixers, or Nets somehow get first, and I think the Nets are like totally falling out, which understandably without KD they just don't have a good enough team. Seed, But if one of those other teams, I mean, it seems like the Celtics are running away, but I think it's like 2.5 games right now. Like they have a lead, but it's not insurmountable. I think if one of those other, like if Giannis or Embiid leads their team to first in the East and probably then NBA too, I think it would probably go to them. And I think if the Celtics finish first, then it's going to be like, it might be pretty open, depending on the West, if the Nuggets stay up. I don't think it's impossible for Jokic to get 3. I think
Jaw's not out of the question either. Like if Jaw's healthy and the Grizzlies get first seed, I think he's probably in that conversation too.
That's a good point. He's not out of the question. I would be a little surprised if he won.
Yeah, I would too. But I think it's just, like you said, you have to win enough games. You have to be at 1-2 seed, something like that. And the problem with Tatum is him and Brown cancel each other out, I think, a lot. And it's not great, even though I think everybody would say Tatum's a better player and more important.
Agreed.
But where have the Bucks struggled at various points this season? Is it just health, or is there something that you've noticed throughout the year where you're like, this is different than the last few years? Like, what have you noticed where they've hit some lulls that have not come up the last couple of years?
I think it's hard to say because I think we had the healthy Bucks roster, like their top 8, I guess, that you'd expect to play for 3 quarters. 3 quarters.